So when it comes to getting into software engineering, there's a lot of ways to go about things. The traditional route of going to a 4, 6, or 8-year university is still by far the most popular. In fact, according to Stack Overflow's 2022 developer survey, a total of about 70% of all professional developers have either a bachelor's or master's degree. This goes up to 87% if you account for anybody with an associate's degree as well. So very high numbers there. This is not to say that you need to go this route though. An increasing number of developers are going the route of attending a coding bootcamp or going the self-taught route to meet the skill requirement to get into that first developer position. But in this video, we're going to talk about why simply going to a coding bootcamp is not enough to land that first job and things that you can do to go about getting your first position as a developer. Here's the thing. If you vet your bootcamp properly, you're going to end up in a position where you have a high quality curriculum. That's basically a given if you do your vetting process the right way. So you find a high quality bootcamp. Why isn't that enough? I mean, after all, when you go through the bootcamp, you should come out the other end with a relatively thorough understanding of how to work with a code base. You should have some interviewing skills. You should know a reasonable amount of computer science that'll get you through technical interviews. So what's the problem? What's missing here? The problem is that your competition is extremely fierce. According to LinkedIn, a total of nearly 65,000 people either attended or graduated from a coding bootcamp in the year 2021, which was an increase of 30% from 2020. These are the most recent stats I could find. If anybody has links to more recent stats, please leave them in the comments below and point us in the right direction. I'm interested in hearing what the numbers are from the last couple of years. Either way though, this means that there's going to be a massive pool of bootcamp grads that are flooding the market looking for the same exact jobs that you are. You do not want to end up in a position where you're just another piece of paper on a hiring manager's desk and there's no way to differentiate yourself from the 200 other applicants that submitted their application within 30 hours of the job being posted. With all that said, here's a few things you can do to make sure that you stand out amongst a sea of applicants. I have 4 points to make in this video. The last one I'd say has potentially the most immediate impact, so make sure you stick around to hear that one. Step number 1 is to start networking right now, like right now. I know you don't know a lot about coding in all likelihood, but it's really important that you meet up with other aspiring developers and get yourself in the same circle as developers, as software engineers. Just start by reaching out to your friends and family and telling them about what you're doing. This is a great way to even just start to reassociate your identity in the minds of other people with you as a developer. For me personally, this is a big move for me. I've been cleaning windows, which is totally unrelated, for the last 6 years. People kind of think of me as a small business owner that is kind of just plugging away at his business. So changing how people think of me is extremely important and is going to actually help me quite a bit if I'm able to do that successfully. So I'm making sure that I'm talking to people right now about what it is that I'm up to. At this time, it's also wise to find a way to get the word out on the internet. If you're on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, something like that, you should be gearing some of your posting towards being a developer, towards being a software engineer. It's going to take a while for people to start to think of you as a developer. So it's really important to start building up that social capital right now and have people see you working in public, posting your projects, making sure people know that you are actually interested in this thing that you're pursuing. So that by the time you get applications out there, hiring managers can go to your social media profiles and see like, oh wow, Colby's been posting about being a software developer for the last year and a half. Of course he's committed to this. This isn't just some guy looking for a job. This is a guy who's actually interested in the position that he's applying for. That social capital is extremely important, and that's removing the fact that just networking in the first place and meeting more developers is going to get you exposed to people that have opportunities in front of them and may be willing to bring them to you if you have built up that social capital over time. The immediate result of building up that social capital is not going to be clear right away. It's going to feel like for a long time you're posting videos on a weekly basis or making an Instagram post every day or going to a networking meetup and you don't really get a ton of results from it. Maybe you get a number or two here or there. I get most of my videos right now have under 50 views. It doesn't feel like there's a ton of progress being made, but I know that over time, putting those reps in, I'm going to be able to make a big impact and meet a lot of really interesting people that are interested in the same work that I'm in and that want to involve me in it. Step number 2 is to learn extra skills. Look, I know this is a big ask, especially when you're attending a coding bootcamp, especially full-time, self-teaching, etc. But When you get out onto the job market, there's going to be a ton of bootcamp graduates that know front end, back end, or full stack and relatively well. And that's about all that they have to showcase with their work. They might have some high quality projects, but still, there might be some niche understanding that's missing from their resume. Compared to you, if you had the extra time, which this is why I recommend going to the part-time bootcamp, if you have extra time to learn about AWS or Azure cloud computing, or you learn more about backend databases, or you learn an extra framework in JavaScript, things like this, you come out of bootcamp being that much more qualified than all of your bootcamp peers. This is going to set you quite a ways ahead in regards to your peers who are also graduating a bootcamp at the exact same time. The one caveat to this is you need to understand the fundamentals of programming and computer science. In fact, I would say that some of your extra time, honestly, before you learn an extra skill, maybe just look further into understanding data structures and algorithms and being able to work through extremely complex problems. That alone might be the skill that sets you apart from a ton of your other peers. Number 3 is a quick one, and it's to start building projects as soon as possible. It's important to get those under your belt. Even if they're not very good at first, they're not going to be very good at first. Take my word for it. This is because the best way to actually learn is to iterate. You're not going to get anywhere if you try to plan out a project for 6 months, then take your first crack at it. You need to get a minimum viable product outline figured out for your project within a week, and then give your first crack at it. You're going to execute on developing that code. You're going to take a look at your project. You're going to make notes on what is good, what's bad, what can be improved, what can be made more optimal in your code base, and then iterate. Do it again, the same project or a new project, and just make it better every time. That way, in 6 months, you don't have one mediocre to or worse project. You have a few projects that you've been iterating on a little bit every single week, and it's going to be way better in the long term because of that. Number 4 is to be willing to take an alternative role. This one hurts, man. I mean, I had a little bit of an ego check when I realized that the best way to get into the market might not be to just jump right at a developer position. I'm going to know a reasonable amount about how to be a developer, software engineer by the time I get out of bootcamp. But look, especially in today's market, guys, there's a ton of people right now that are looking for developer positions. They're looking to get back into software engineering because they've gotten laid off in the last 6 months, and it's time for them to get back to freaking work. So this makes your competition pretty fierce, not only among your fellow graduates of the bootcamp, but among seasoned software engineers. I'm not saying this to discourage you, but I think that if you want to get your foot in the door as quickly as possible, going a different route in the short term might be a good call. There's a few positions that work closely with software engineers. There's about half a dozen here that I have. The first several aren't directly related to software engineering, but they're adjacent. So we have program management, account management, and business development. These are all roles that, customer success as well. These are all roles that involve a variety of planning, working with customers in a customer service position, or sales. So it kind of gives you options to work with a recent skill base. If you've been in sales before, maybe account management would be a good idea. If you have a lot of experience working in business already, program management or business development might be the way to go. And if you're interested in customer service, the customer success role might be a way to go. Now, the two that I like the most are quality assurance and customer support engineer. QA is an interesting one. It's very technical, and you work closely with engineers to test the code that they're producing. Not all engineers are spending time testing their code extremely thoroughly. In fact, I mean, the opportunity cost for them is not as high as it would be if they were just developing more. So that necessitates the QA position. And then the customer support engineer one is a really interesting one because it's semi-technical. You work with the code base on occasion, and you have to read through and report problems to the customer or to the software engineers. And you work as kind of a bridge between the engineers and the customers that you have. I think quality assurance and customer support engineer are the best ways to get into tech as soon as possible if you have any trouble finding a developer position. And I'm not saying don't apply for developer positions, but think about your allocation when it comes to applying for jobs. You might want to give some allocation to these jobs because they have lower requirements. They don't require zero experience, but you're going to have a big advantage on a lot of people applying that have no experience, having just graduated a boot camp. So that could be really impactful for you in your job search. And it's going to get you shoulder to shoulder with engineers in a really quick way. So I think I'm going to be implementing this strategy personally. I think I'm going to be applying for several customer support engineer jobs pretty soon here, actually, just to be able to break into tech as soon as possible, because that's my goal. Now, if you're somebody who's only interested in being a developer, great, good for you. I think that you should continue to build up your skills and apply in unique ways to developer positions so you can get that job for yourself. Just know that the road might be a little bit longer. And if you're looking to get employed as soon as possible, maybe getting a little bit of an ego check and looking into some of these positions could be a good idea. The last thing I'm going to talk to you guys about today is how to be one of one. That's kind of been the theme of this video the whole time is, look, there's a ton of competition out there right now. Seasoned developers have been laid off in the last several months, and they're looking for positions right now, and the positions are dwindling. Hiring has stopped at a lot of companies. It's kind of bad news for a lot of people, which is a bummer, but we just need to look at this as an opportunity to become as unique as possible. How do you become one of one? When you apply for a job, don't just hit apply on LinkedIn and call it a day. You need to ask yourself before you apply to that job, how do I fit into this role in a unique way? What about my background hyper qualifies me for this position over other people? If you've been interested in fitness your whole life, maybe a position at a nutrition company would be a good fit for you, and you could speak to the importance of nutrition and your fitness background when you're interviewing. You show how you have capital in the actual product and lifestyle that the brand is selling. How do I uniquely qualify for this job? What about my background makes me a great candidate? And what can I do to stand out amongst everybody else that's applying right now? If there's something on their website that you see that's not looking so great, download the HTML and see if you can take a crack at redesigning an element of their website. Send a slide deck talking about a bug or a feature that could be fixed or improved on their site and what your plan would be to implement that solution. Making yourself stand out as unique in the marketplace is no longer an option. You have to find ways to make yourself extremely stand out from the rest of the crowd. So with all that said, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe. Leave a comment below if you think of any other interesting ways that you can pursue this journey that we're all on. And yeah, make sure you subscribe. I appreciate you guys watching, and there's more videos to come. So I'll see you then. Peace.